Hello everyone, this is Gabby and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. This was written in 1892 and oh my god, it left me speechless. This is a horror story. I know it's not fantasy, but as I read it, I really felt the need of talking about it. It's haunting, disturbing, and impactful because it shows how society treated women, specifically in terms of mental health, autonomy, and self-identity. The story is about a woman that moved to a summer house with her husband after having her baby. She is convinced that she has depression, but her husband, who is also her doctor, dismisses her absolutely by telling her she just has a temporal nervous condition with hysterical tendency, and her treatment should be absolute rest. He forbids her to read, to write, to do any intellectual work. Actually, the narration is made by her in a secret journal. And he also forbids her to see her baby and locks her down in a room with a horrid yellow wallpaper. As time passes, her mental health starts to decay. John, her husband, doesn't take her seriously when she calls out for help. He's actually really indulgent with her and treats her like a child. He actually calls her my little girl or my blessed little goose, and calls her irrational when she tries to explain to him that she's getting worse just because she's crying. The amount of gaslighting here is horrific. Gaslighting can be defined as a form of psychological manipulation, very common in toxic relationships in where the aggressor makes the victim question their own judgment and perception of themselves. It may cause cognitive dissonance or low self-esteem, rendering the victim additionally dependent on the gaslighter for emotional support and validation. The yellow wallpaper is described as hideous and repulsive by the narrator. It has a confusing pattern that as her mental state decays, it starts to become the object of her obsession. As her obsession becomes deeper, she is convinced that somehow the pattern changes over the night, so she doesn't sleep. And at some point, she starts to see a creeping woman behind the pattern, trapped inside the wallpaper, which can be seen as a representation of all the women held captive by social norms. This is implied by the narrator when she says that every woman that tries to escape the wallpaper becomes strangled. The ending of this story is haunting. In some ways, it can be seen like the woman gets some sort of freedom, but at the same time, she spirals down into a state of mad behavior and later to psychosis. And I couldn't help but feel my heart wrenched by every woman that had to survive this kind of treatment in the 19th century. How every mental illness was seen as hysteria, and every desire of autonomy was turned down and seen as something that had to be fixed for a woman to fulfill her domestic role. The Yellow Wallpaper is a story that today is considered an icon of feminist literature. It just has 6,000 words, it's super short, but it opens up so many things to discuss about women's rights, especially if we consider that although things have gotten better since that time, the 19th century, there are a bunch of things that we can still see even today. I, for one, can't count how many times I've been called irrational because at some point in an argument, as a reaction to rage or pain, I start to cry. And they tell me that they cannot have a conversation with me if I'm being like this. And it sucks. I recommend this a lot. It is a psychological horror story that, although it's fictional, holds so much reality within every single word. and I would love to discuss it with you in the comments. Let me know what you think about this book, which is a really short story, and this video. And if you want to stay tuned, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, ring the bell, and click on the subscribe button. I will be posting Mondays and Thursdays. Thank you guys, and see you soon.